Hey Tali, how's the PTR? Wow, this zone is really nice.
Hi Evie, yeah, isn't it amazing?
Really good balls. Anyway, I thought you might need some refreshment to help your exploration, so I brought you some water.
Oh, what?
I know streamers are incapable of hydrating themselves if they are not reminded constantly, so I brought you some nice cold water to drink.
Oh, yeah, that's great, I guess.
Aren't you thirsty?
Oh no, I definitely am. It's just, I don't know, I've been in Zereth Mortis for a little bit now, and I guess I just have higher standards.
What?
Evie, have you seen the water here? Isn't it the most amazing water you've ever seen? Have you never seen water like this, Evie? Tell me this isn't the most flabbergasting, incredible water you have ever been near. Tell me you have been in the presence of water even half this good before. Yeah, exactly, you can't, never. You can walk on it, Evie. You can walk on the water. Is your mind blown? My mind is blown. God, I love this water so much.
Yeah, it's very nice.
How did they make this water, Evie? How did they make it so amazing? I'm walking on the water, Evie. Did you notice that? How did they do that? That shouldn't be possible.
Have you been drinking the water, Tali?
No, you can't drink it. It's a solid. You break your teeth. That's why I'm so very, very thirsty all of the time.
Water?
No, I can't. It's just nowhere near as good.
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the weekly reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow, in a week that I have spent playing and getting to grips with the 9.2 PTR, because, oh yeah, I don't know if you know, but the 9.2 PTR is here. The first iteration of the next patch is playable. In some ways, it is a lot more advanced than you may have expected. In some ways, it's definitely not. I am going to tell you all about my first impressions after having put in a few days on it, and of course, some lovely juicy protected by spoiler bots, spoilery data mining too. It's a good old-fashioned PTR episode, fam, and you know how much I love that shit. And so, with no spoilers at first, what is actually in there? Well, you've got the new zone, Zereth Mortis, with the first 3 campaign quests, the ones that get you set up in the zone, all of which you can skip on alts, which is a pretty substantial skip, honestly, and much appreciated too. You've got all of the class tier sets purchasable from the massive Tauren Nice Stuff vendor in PTR Oribos, with all the set bonuses testable, if not all of the set appearances. You've got the 2 new Mythic Plus versions of Tazavesh, you've got the new Torghast gameplay mode, and as far as things that you don't have to data mine to see, you haven't got much else, but that is still plenty to talk about. And I'm going to start today with Torghast. I know none of you care about Torghast and you don't want to hear it. You want to hear my opinion on the new zone and the many, many balls. And frankly, I don't blame you, because there are so many balls in Zereth Mortis, like big balls and smooth balls, very clean looking balls, but also old and rusty balls. There are balls positively bristling with power, but also completely depleted balls which are long past their best. There are floating balls and balls submerged in sand. There are balls with water erupting from them, just unloading everywhere. Basically, think of a type of ball. Are you thinking of a type? Yeah, I know you are. Well, that type of ball is definitely in Zereth Mortis, because Zereth Mortis is all balls all of the time. But here's the thing, Internet. The new Torghast mode is really good. And I know, you don't care, and neither did I, honestly, but the Jailer's Gauntlet is terrific. It's just boss fights, one after the other, for 8 floors at a time. No trash, no pot smashing, just pure, unadulterated, elite action, which I have to say is considerably more fun than standard Torghast, even if just for the novelty of it. It's going to be much easier in a group, just like Torghast always is. It has a slightly annoying problem where anima powers that are clearly useless just on bosses, like Obscuring Mist, are still options in the rotation, which should probably be looked at. But I played it for like an hour or 2, and I had a genuinely really good time. I think you might like it. No, seriously, you might like it, even though I know you don't care about it, because you want to hear about the balls, and I don't blame you. So, Zereth Mortis, where many of us will be spending a sizable chunk of our time in 9.2, but not all of us. in all likelihood. Maybe even not the majority of us, since it apparently is something aimed mostly at players who enjoy collecting and exploring and generally just running around and pressing buttons. And if you only play the game to raid, for example, something that you can skip entirely and not be any less powerful for doing so, if Blizzard are to be believed. I've spent a few days in there now, and what can I tell you? Well, first things first, obviously, it looks brilliant. As in, like, genuinely brilliant. In the 9.2 announcement and the press photos that came after it, I thought the zone looked good and I liked it, but in-game, it is never less than incredibly beautiful and occasionally genuinely stunning. Like, there were moments when I turned a corner or reached the brow of a hill, was greeted with a sight or view that legitimately stopped me in my tracks. And the last time that happened to me in WoW was like the opening week of BFA, arriving in Stormsong Valley from Tiragard Sound for the first time. And yes, it does appear to have a weird blue filter over everything at the moment, which kind of spoils the luscious green lusciousness. And yes, it's perhaps possible that my day-to-day WoW eyeful for the last year has consisted a lot of dark and dangerous spiky bony edge times and like actual grass, like real grass, which is actually green, blue and stuff, feels disproportionately amazing. I'm sure there is a slight element of that, but also it just looks like genuinely baller. And honestly, unlike anything else I can think of in WoW, the blocky geometric shapes in the terrain and mobs do make the entire thing seem like a developer island, somewhere that might exist in the files of a game, which devs use to try new things out, but which players don't actually have access to, but which maybe could be found with the correct sequence of glitches and hacks. It feels weird and alien, but also serene. Wild and alive, but also immaculately organized and manicured, and as a space, it is very interesting. But one of the most common things I've heard from people talking about 9.2 and from people watching my stream was surprise at how far along and complete this PTR already seems to be. And that's kind of true in some way. This whole zone is apparently in place now. The opening setup quests are there. There is raid testing already happening. The tier sets are testable. And Tali, you know, maybe you were being a bit conservative with your March release date prediction. Like, surely this is a February job, or heck, why not even be super optimistic? A January job. Oh man, I can't believe 9.2 is coming out in January. This is amazing. But in other very important ways, it's pretty clear that there is actually a ton of work to do on this yet. And it's really important, time-consuming work at that. So those tier set bonuses, they mostly suck. Blizz have already come out and said that they are reworking tons of them, and rightfully so. I've only really played with the Shadow Priest set, and it's just some boring ass proc. It's just so indistinct. And that's what the PTR is for, right? But yeah, this is an example. Tier sets aren't finished just because they are in the PTR. And likewise, the landmass of Zereth Mortis may be in place. We can run around getting our fill of some really quite incredible balls and like the most amazing water that's ever existed. I don't even know how this water exists. I can't explain it to you, it's just there. I ain't no scientist. But otherwise, there's basically nothing. Mob density is all over the place. There's only a couple of world quests up at any time, and half of those aren't completable. The main progression feature of the whole patch is not yet testable, although data mining has given us some more clues this week, which we will be going into. Even if there are some very promising and tantalizing glimpses, like there are loads of tunnels and chambers around Zereth Mortis, with currently inaccessible doors or ledges which look like they will become accessible later. There are platforms and areas which you can see from the ground which you have no way of getting to. There are intriguing looking consoles and NPCs dotted around which are obviously supposed to be interactable but aren't yet, and that is pretty exciting to me. It suggests that exploration might well be something that I enjoy doing in the zone when it's live. I've enjoyed doing it in PTR. The potential is definitely there in this environment. It's just a case of whether Blizz fulfill it. And of course, one of the main ways that they will do that will be from the Cypher of the first ones. The feature that we basically just talk about every week now. Honestly, I would call this show the Weekly Cypher if I had any idea how to spell it. The feature which the setup quests on the PTR stop right as we are about to unlock, and the thing which frankly prevents us from giving any real judgments on how the patch is looking until it is testable. So it is interesting that Wowhead have managed to data mine some UI elements and unlocks from the Cypher, which give us our first real glimpse of what it's going to look like. And look, it goes without saying that this is stuff that Blizzard have have chosen not to show us in this PTR. We have no idea how old this stuff is. It could be already out of date. It's certainly going to be changed and iterated on as the PTR goes on. Do not take this too seriously or jump to conclusions at all, but also let's look at it and totally jump to conclusions. So here is the main console display showing the 4 progression trees to be researched and unlocked, which straight away you'll notice is considerably less than that lone initial image we were given at the announcement. We also have a really good idea of what those paths currently consist of and their cost. Material is the shortest and cheapest tree. It's clearly designed to be the first one that you fill out, and its purpose is apparently to kind of unlock lots of the things that you're going to use in the other trees. Activating your adorable little robot follower and upgrades that let you interact with resources and puzzles out in the zone, which presumably are integral to the grind at the center of the gameplay loop, with the final level being the ability to customize Pokopok's appearance. All of these upgrades are very cheap. For context, there's usually at least one world quest up that offers 50 ciphers of the first ones, which is the currency they're using here. The research takes a matter of minutes for each upgrade, with the exception of the 8-hour final cosmetic option. Right now, it seems you should be able to unlock all of this row in a day or a couple of days. It's really what gets the whole zone rolling. The Aalic tree seems to involve enhancements and buffs that apply to the player in the zone. Lore concordances appear to be static totem type things dotted around the zone that can be activated by players to benefit everyone in the area. But higher ranks in this tree refer to an enhancement console, which I guess is in Firim's cave with the Cypher, and which apparently has personal enhancements that can be applied with energy. Maybe we'll find out about that later. For 15 minutes at a time, with the higher ranks reducing the amount of energy they cost, increasing the duration, and eventually making those enhancements permanent in the form of crystals that can be socketed onto your gear. The resource costs and research times for this tree are noticeably higher than the Metrial tree and seem to be more typical of the system as a whole, with new ranks taking between 8 and 18 hours to research, and the final rank taking a week, which reminds me of something I said on the subject last week.
And yeah, some of these tree unlocks sound like they might be timed in the way like building your rank 3 teleportation network in your government takes 12 hours to process, I'm guessing. And that's okay, as long as it's not some bullshit 5-day wait or something. I've got my eye on you, day.
And yeah, off with that. Although, okay, if it's just the final rank, I guess it's annoying, but okay. But also annoying, but I guess I'm okay with it, but also f*** you. The Dalek tree is the path that unlocks those enhancement consoles mentioned in the Aalic tree, and maybe the different enhancements that you can choose from. It's not clear, but it also definitely has its own buffs that apply too, but it does seem mostly to interact with elements on the previous 2 trees. I feel like with this one, without knowing more about exactly all of these things, I can't really explain it without being definitely wrong. But it has upgrades for the amount of energy that Pokopok generates, which I guess is the energy you use to give yourself enhancements on the enhancement consoles, the energy cost of which you can upgrade on the Aalic tree, if you remember. And this tree has 2 ranks which take a week to research, including the first rank. And, you know, double that. The Trebelim tree is all about making Pokopok essentially a party member, with upgrades that give them tank or healing abilities. There's also a rank which increases Pokopok's maximum energy, so there is interaction between all of the trees here when it comes to Pokopok's energy generation, how much energy he can have, and how much the enhancements you buy with that energy cost, and how long they last. It's one of those things that sounds very complicated when I explain it terribly because I'm bad at talking, but will actually be very straightforward when you see it in game. And yeah, there's a lot to like here. There is one very important thing missing, in my opinion. Every single one of these trees is about making life on Zereth Mortis easier. Enhancements to make you go faster or stronger. Upgrades for your robot buddy so that he can help you out. Permanently socketed zone abilities. Each one of these 4 trees improves the how of the zone. My question is, where is the why? Because yeah, I can gather resources easier or quicker. Yeah, I can kill big mobs that I couldn't before. Yeah, I can travel around faster. But why? What am I uncovering here? Where's the tree that unlocks those tantalizing, inaccessible areas that I can see in the distance? Where is the tree that unlocks cool new collectibles? Where is the tree that lets me unlock story and lore elements? All of this stuff just makes progressing the zone easier. But why am I doing that? And I don't think Blizz have forgotten this, by the way. I've already come across quests that set the whole customizable mount building thing in motion, and it's clear that a lot of these collectibles and customizations and things will be gathered out in the world and from the Enlightened Quartermaster through rep as usual. But Blizzard have such a great opportunity here with these trees and the Cypher to do something a bit different, and one of the main opportunities it's got is with the story. Now, I don't know what their plan is. If I'm making Zereth Mortis, I am putting a full B story in this zone, which is just a lore adventure, separate from the main Shadowlands expansion story that will presumably be covered in the, what looks like it'll be 5 or 6 weeks of campaign stuff. But I would have a B plot that is unlocked either directly through the upgrades in its own Cypher tree, or indirectly through another tree, like one which specifically gains access to new areas of the zone. And I'd make it a cool mystery about what happened to a missing Enlightened one, or a hunt for Zoval's 3D printed original version. We see all of the other original attempts at the Pantheon in the raid, but not his. Or hey, why not tracking down Sourfang's soul or something? Basically, a story that isn't important to the main narrative of the patch, but which is interesting or enticing enough for lots of players to want to work towards unlocking and experiencing it through the Cypher. That would be a pretty good why. A path that unlocks a class weapon appearance would be a really good why. And that, in my opinion, is what this unfinished, unimplemented system, which Blizzard specifically haven't yet put onto the PTR for us to see or give our opinions on, is missing, in my opinion. That's my opinion on it. But it's also a pretty big reason as to why this patch isn't as far advanced as a lot of us may first have thought on day one of the PTR. There is a lot of work to do here, and obviously the Cypher is a really central part of that, and something that we really want to see on the PTR soon. One thing I don't want to see on the PTR, though, is those remaining campaign quests. And I realize this is a hopeless ask, because, what's the point of having a PTR if you don't test things, right? But I truly think, and I am definitely not alone here, that those campaign quests, with the important and long-awaited and potentially expansion-defining story that they are likely to contain, I just think that the game would really benefit from not having everyone with a passing interest in the game knowing the story before they play it for realsies. We all know there are lots of opinions about the WoW story and its merits and faults, and I think it has plenty of both. But I genuinely think that one of the reasons this game's pacing often seems so weird and off is, well, one reason is because new patches often take months longer to arrive than the story team had probably been told they would when they were planning the narrative beats, yeah. But also because of the way the PTR works, those of us that care about the lore and the story the most usually play through the story quests in a patch with at least a fairly good idea, and at most a line-for-line knowledge of how they will play out from PTR testing. Morgan Day mentioned in an interview that we covered last week that they are toying with the idea of not testing the last 3 bosses of the raid on the PTR, and if you cannot test Mythic Zoval with all its mechanics and tuning and balance that can go wrong, you cannot test 6 story chapters, surely. They managed it with the conclusion of the Sourfang story in 8.25, and the game was all the better for it. Like, the Cypher, that needs testing and feedback and developer iteration. Tier sets, test the heck out of them. But it really would be nice, wouldn't it, to be able to go into each new week of 9.2 with a genuine interest in what the story will hold. And I know you're going to say, Taliesin, just don't read spoilers, but that's not how it works. You know that. WoW is a community game, and a lot of us like playing the game, but we also like existing in the community. And important story spoilers on the PTR are essentially impossible to avoid if you engage with the community online. So the only alternative is not to have them on the PTR. Oh, and speaking of spoilers, we will be unleashing some blue bots and some red bots in just a moment. But first, the rest of the safe to talk about stuff that's cropped up in this first build. Like the Sepulcher's Savior's Shield that has an on-use effect that toggles it between defensive stance that increases block and heals party members, and an offensive stance that, does damage. Very cool. Also added in this build, a few variables stored in the lure file pertaining to gender, which have actually existed for a fair old while now, but which maybe suggest that possibly it might be an option, perhaps at some point in the future, but who knows, to choose between the gender options for your character of male, female, neither, or both, which is pretty neat. Although I should say there is no evidence currently that this will find its way into character creation. If it did, I think it would be pretty neat. I mean, it could be for new NPC races that don't have standard male or female body types like Tuskar or Ankoan, or even new ones soon to be introduced. And that would also be neat. An opinion that was shared heartily on the forums, where everyone agreed that it's a no-lose situation, right? I mean, it takes a couple of minutes to change some digits and a couple of lines of code, and voila! An option that will mean a lot to some people, will be pretty neat to loads more, and basically unimportant to everyone else. Just the kind of quick and easy change that... no, it's a shit show, obviously. For some reason, people think being inclusive means it's okay to produce more garbage. IDK, what's so hard about paying someone equally skilled, equal wages, and doing good work? Nope, we always gotta prove a point, just so everyone knows, right? Kotick isn't the only reason WoW is dead. Sorry, was that the right comment? Huh. Yeah, so anyway, you might be able to choose neither or both, as well as male or female on your gender. Maybe. At some point, perhaps. All for this, as long as there's an opt-out. An opt-out of gender. Yeah, well, I guess that would be the neither option. So good news for you, Mr. Commentator. I guess this is the change for you. Well, time to quit. I'm sorry, guys. I try my best to see both sides with these things, and I often agree with the sentiment of the shit show comments, even if I'm laughing at the extremity of the language. But in this case, I've got to say, if the thought of other players being able to select something from 4 tiny lines of code that you will never even see or know about genuinely upsets you, then frankly, that's some serious small dick energy right there, my bros. Like, if you feel the need to object to 2 extra lines of code that don't have to have the tiniest change in the way you experience the game in any way, that is teeny peen energy all day long from you. Like, seriously, in the 5 years we've been doing this show, we've covered some parts of the community getting angry about the tiniest, most meaningless nothings, but being annoyed about this is some micro cock energy bullshit, and I feel sorry for you, honestly. It's probably not going to happen anyway. It would be cool if it did, because why the shit not? And actually, don't stop with gender. Why not introduce these 2 new options to faction choice as well? Horde, Alliance, neither, both. Oh, now you think it's good to have options, right? Yeah? Now you're on board. Bluebot spoilers, and that means stuff that is freely visible in the PTR without the need for data mining. And you remember last week we were talking about how it's now pretty obvious that it is in fact Arthas' soul being housed in Kingsmorn. Well, the snippets of proper story that we do get in the opening Zereth Mortis quests makes that even more explicit, as Jaina comes over all funny after an encounter with Anduin and says she senses a familiar presence in the blade. And you know, I don't think she's talking about Saurfang. And why not? Let's finish with some really good Redbot spoiler stuff, namely some Sylvanas voice lines, the exact context of which we don't know, but you know, she's our prisoner now, and I'd imagine there's probably quite a lot of soul searching and talking to be done. I've said on stream before that I wouldn't be surprised if there turned out to be a whole 9.25 or even 9.3 patch dedicated purely to the resolution of Sylvanas, the trial of Sylvanas or something like that. Wishful thinking maybe, but these lines are very interesting, and they have Sylvanas say, "I don't remember the exact moment I wrested control. I do remember the rush of freedom, the clarity of purpose. When I loosed my arrow, I sought to become his judge and his executioner. I thought that if I could punish him for his crimes, I would be absolved of mine." Which, I mean, it's obvious what she's talking about here, right? Sylvanas is recounting the moment she was freed of domination and shot an arrow at the guy that had controlled her against her will, which was a shit show, obviously. I fishing knew it! Redeemed! Oh god, what a shocking twist. So basically whitewashing the genocidal witch. This is so bad. It's such a freaking joke. Who writes this crap and thinks to themselves, hell yeah, this is good storytelling? It is so fishing bad. And look, I pretty much dismissed those last shit show comments, so allow me to be a bit more even-handed here, because I can completely understand why people are upset about this. Sylvanas revealing that she was dominated, not in control of herself, right up until the moment she fired an arrow at her tormentor in an attempt to be absolved of her own crimes as much as anything. It's the get out of jail free card that many were dreading would be the conclusion of Sylvanas' story. A massive, oh yeah, I know I did the bad thing, but I was totally mind controlled. And look, I did totally manage to break free and I fired an arrow. So what? You're going to judge me for firing an arrow? I totally did the good thing. I agree. That would be a very lackluster and disappointing reveal if Sylvanas were talking about Zoval in that line, which she quite obviously isn't. Because here Sylvanas is quite obviously talking about Arthas, who killed her, raised her, and literally controlled her, forcing her to commit atrocities against her own people until she gained her free will back again after Illidan tried to melt Northrend. Don't look at me like that, it's a very long story, we don't have time. Which she kept a secret right up until the moment she betrayed Arthas by shooting him with a poisoned arrow. And considering we will be spending quite a bit of time talking to Sylvanas about domination and Arthas in 9.2, since we are trying to find a way to free Anduin from the jailer's domination, and he has Arthas in his sword, then clearly, undoubtedly, Sylvanas is talking about Arthas here. It's obvious to anyone who thought about it for 5 seconds before reacting. I will totally eat shit if I'm wrong, and Sylvanas is talking about the jailer here, because yeah, that would be a bit weird, but I don't have to, because I'm definitely right, because she's definitely obviously talking about Arthas. See you next week for some more words people don't understand.
Okay, so I've got a question for you.
What's the question?
First off, if you had to sum up in very few words, and I know this is hard for you.
Oh, hang on.
I know this is a challenge.
Right.
If you had to sum up the new zone, how would you do it?
What, in very few words?
Yes.
Round.
Balls.
Balls. Refreshing.
Oh, how so?
How so? Because it's so different from like spiky edgelordness. And potential. I'm like very hopeful. There's like stuff in place for it to be just a really cool, fun place to hang out. But I've got a question for you.
Oh.
What do you think is going to happen to Sylvanas? The last chapter of the Zereth Mortis like story campaign is called Epilogue. Judgment.
Ooh.
So I don't think it's everyone just sitting around and assessing their raid performance, put it that way. It's like, you know, and Anduin, your logs were really bad. Thrall, we just don't need like an enhancement shaman. I'm really sorry. Like, can you play Resto, Thrall?
Just get on to Ask Mr. Robot.
Like you're getting grey logs, Thrall, and Bane. I don't even know what you're here. You're supposed to be bringing the feasts, so I don't think that's what it is.
Right.
I think Epilogue Judgment might be something to do with Sylvanas. Because I talk about it all the time, right?
I know.
No one wants to hear my voice anymore. My opinion isn't important, but like yours is. So like more important.
Because I am a bad lady with a potential redemption arc. Is that why? So I can like speak to Sylvanas more than you?
There's no redemption arc for you, Evitel.
I know.
But what do you think is going to happen?
Okay, so here's the thing. It's an epilogue. So it's after the big things happen. Right? There's big stuff happening. Epilogues traditionally are like, okay, the big stuff is over. Now let's collect ourselves. However, it is called Judgment. So
wow, this is insightful. So far, you told me the 2 words.
Yeah, but
the quest is
not
called.
Everyone knows what they mean.
This is so insightful. No, please carry on. This is gold dust. I love it.
Thanks. Clearly, like we're not gonna kill her. Clearly,
wait. So hang on. Is this like just all of you who think that once the jailer goes down and we're like, okay, time to execute Sylvanas in the street?
Well, I'm sure some people.
It's like, well, thanks for your help, Sylvanas, and then execution in the middle of Oribos,
Epilogue.
and then just thrown over the side.
So that's not going to happen, is it? Right? So
I don't know. You tell me. I'm asking you what you think's going to happen.
I don't think she's going to die. We're not going to kill her. I also don't think it's going to wrap up with him being like, well, Sylvanas, we condemn you to X amount of years, you know, being a Venthyr, carving your name on stones.
No, you don't think that's going to happen either?
I don't think so.
Not even community service?
I mean, some form.
Like just cleaning the bins or like picking up trash from the park or, you know, just like going around to old people's houses to make sure they're okay, that sort of thing.
Maybe. I don't want to speculate too much because I just want to enjoy it when it happens. Right. I want it to happen to me and I want to be like, the end of the Sylvanas story. Let's move on to another one.
Okay. Just in time for the Sylvanas book to come out?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Which will be a summation of her life.
Do you know what? I mean, I'd like to see the trial. I'd like to see a big trial. Like the old trial of Magneto comics back in the day. I'd really like to see the trial of Sylvanas.
You think that's going to happen?
No.
No, because that gives too much to the people who want her to be on trial.
I don't know, because like Epilogue Judgment makes it sound like it's going to be sorted out there and then. But what I would like
like is for them to go, oh, Sylvanas, thanks for doing your heroics
For
against the
helping us
jailer
out.
right
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
But to jail with you because you got a trial. You got to face the war crimes tribunal.
Oh.
And this is not going to be like the Garrosh one where we accidentally let him get away into a different dimension and change history. No, this time we're going to chain you up.
Yeah.
This time, no time travel. Oh, no, Sylvanas. No time travel for you. And we're going to put you on a proper trial. And I wouldn't mind seeing that be like the 9.25 or 9.3 patch, honestly.
okay.
Like, literally just a story patch focused on the trial of Sylvanas. I think that would be really cool.
Okay, that's quite
quite
cool.
And it doesn't have to be like, like we recognize a trial, right? It's like, people wearing wigs and yeah, exactly. Not like a TV trial, but like the Warcraft equivalent of that, right? Whether it be just a council or something, or I don't know.
Do you think that's the function the book is going to serve?
No.
It's going to be like kind of going through, not her trial, but like, here's in summary, Sylvanas, everything she's done, you decide.
Oh, so it's almost like the Sylvanas book is her written statement,
Right, or like
her account.
Yeah, exactly.
That would actually be quite cute.
Or it's like here is I'm laying it all on the table in one book form.
That would actually be quite good. It's like, have you prepared your statement? Yeah, with a little help from Christy Golden. Thank you for being here with us today, though. It's very much appreciated. You're looking great, by the way. If you've been working out, that's fantastic. If you liked this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real-life money to make all of our work happen. Getting ready for the live patron Discord.
Yeah.
Have you worked out how to make that work?
I have.
Oh, you're moving your eyebrows in a way that suggests that you haven't really.
Excuse me?
Well, it's like when we got married and you were like, do you promise to love Tali forever? And you were like, yeah.
Yes.
Do I ever?
There's a post up on the Patreon about this live festive hangout.
Oh, a festive hangout!
It's a festive hangout.
Oh, this is getting better and better. Can I bring the mulled wine?
Yes, please.
That'd be amazing.
We're just gonna chill one night next week and hang out with all of our patrons and friends. More details are coming, and I think I might switch some things up around it now. But it is happening. Same date, same time. Be there.
Best Christmas ever. I'm going to wear all my best Christmas gear.
It's going to be good.
Oh, Winter Veil. If you didn't like this video, never mind. Downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Evitel. I know.
Getting roasted.
No, my name is Taliesin, and from me...
And me, Evitel.
You're Evitel.
Oh.
Until next time, cheerio.